It's me, Cynthia Erivo, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast, and as always, I'm joined by Babby. We have a fun and exciting episode planned. It's the first episode of 2025.
Yippee.
Hooray! New year, new me. Old podcast. This podcast
Okay.
has been going for 6 years.
Mhm.
About, I think it was February of 2019 when we started. So it is an old podcast. It's about as old as probably a lot of the people that listen to
Me.
this podcast. Yeah. I assume that everyone is a baby that watches the Boy Time podcast.
I would hope so.
Yeah, me too. I only really respect babies' opinions because they haven't been corrupted by the harsh realities of the
The
outside
lying
world.
news media.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, on that note, we have a bunch of stuff to talk about, or at least I do, because we didn't have an episode last week, and then the week before was list week. So I've seen a lot of hit films. I'm not going to be talking about all of them, just the ones that are interesting enough to talk about. So sorry, A Christmas Story. You're getting left off. It's my short review of A Christmas Story is it was okay. Not great, not the worst thing I've ever seen, but also barely entertaining. So there. But we'll move on. I guess we'll go in order of when I saw them. I saw the hit film Y2K. I saw that on December 10th, and I'm just now talking about it because that's how the podcast timing worked out. I saw this in theaters, so it is a new movie. I am going to spoil it because I don't know if anyone cares about this movie, nor should they, because it's not very good. I went with a friend, and that friend, I don't know if she likes SNL or if she is, I don't know, but directed by Kyle Mooney, who is a SNL guy, or maybe not anymore. Maybe used to be like 5 years ago. He was like in the generation after like the Kristen Wiig and like that, the early 2000s, and then the mid 2010s. That was when Kyle Mooney was on SNL, and I think this is his directorial debut. Uh, I didn't know that going in. I knew nothing about the movie because she was like, "Do you want to see this?" And I said, "Okay." I don't know anything about this movie. What's it about? And then she just sent me a link to the trailer, and then I didn't watch it because I don't watch trailers. I'm like, it'll probably be fine. I'll just go see it. Which I think is the way to do it because not knowing anything about this movie, there's like a twist in the first 10 minutes that I'm sure is spoiled by the trailer, and it's kind of spoiled by the poster. But basically, it starts off and it's a basic high school coming of age movie. And that's what I thought the movie was going to be. It felt, the beginning of it felt very inspired by like Superbad, where there's these two kind of outcast, like loner kids, except instead of like getting ready to graduate high school and go to college, I think they're like graduating middle school and starting high school. It's like or it's, wait, that doesn't make any sense because I think they're actually, okay, because it would make sense if it was a summer thing because like they're like trying to get with the girl and be popular before school starts, but it's a New Year's Eve 1999. The whole thing takes place on Y2K. That's why the movie is called that. So it doesn't really make sense for the people in the movie to be like, "Oh, we need to be popular. We need to make friends. It's our one last hoorah before high school." But it's winter. They have like 6 months or more until high school starts. So I don't know. It's been a month since I saw this movie, so maybe it's explained better, but I don't remember. And honestly, it doesn't really matter because after the first 15 minutes, I think the idea for this film was, what if Y2K was real? And, uh, all this hysteria about all the computers failing and shutting down and creating this worldwide crisis. What if it actually happened? And I think that's an interesting premise, I guess. But I think they took it a step further. But I guess you kind of have to for a goofy comedy. But it's just like, instead of all of the computers just not knowing what the year 2000 is. Do I need to explain what Y2K is? Do people remember what that
If our
was?
audience is 7, then yes, but I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Because I don't know anyone like talks about that. Uh, just briefly, everyone in 1999 thought that when the date hit 2000, that all of the computers would not know what to do with that, because back in those days, dates on computers were basically just 6 digits, 222. So the year was just represented by 99. And so when it hit 2000, then everyone thought, well, not everyone, a small,
Idiots.
yes, a very small minority of people that were conspiratorially minded thought that the world was going to end on New Year's 2000, because all the computers would fail and the economy would crash and the government would collapse. Like it was a whole thing. There's this whole mania about it. And so doing like a disaster movie, if Y2K was real, could have interesting. That's an interesting movie, I guess. It would have to be done by like Roland Emmerich or something, or Michael Bay, some stupid disaster porn director, but not Kyle Mooney, the funny SNL guy. Instead, what happens on Y2K is, I guess, there was a virus that was created by no one, but I don't know. I think they said that it was created by somebody, but it doesn't really make sense for anyone to have created this virus because it infects every single electronic device and makes them murderous towards humans. So I don't know why a human would create that unless they were suicidal and trying to take the whole world with them, which I guess is a pretty baller move. But unfortunately, that character is not in the movie. So, yeah. But let's talk about the cast. The cast it's an all-star cast. First of all, I need to bring up that my best friend Tim Heidecker is in this movie.
So,
I love Tim Heidecker. He plays the main character's dad, and the main character's mom is played by Alicia Silverstone, who I have not seen since Batman and Robin. So I'm glad that she's still getting roles because that movie's not good. So not good on you, Alicia Silverstone. This also is actually, I don't know if it's the acting debut, but it's the first thing I've seen the kid Leroy in. So there's that. And he's trying to do an American accent. I think they knew that his American accent wasn't very good because they kill him off immediately, which is a running theme through this movie, which I'll get to. Yeah, Kyle Mooney's also in it. He plays a stoner hippie guy, which frankly doesn't make much sense in 1999. I think it's supposed.
people didn't smoke weed in 1990.
No, but he's like, I think he's kind of going for like, um, Tommy Chong in that 70s show. The guy who like owns that store and he's just like super laid back and he just smokes weed all the time with the pedophile or whatever. That guy from that 70s show. I think that's what he was going for, but that vibe doesn't really fit 1999, which is strange.
As you would know.
I guess. I guess. But it's, of everything I've seen from 1999 of pop culture and everything that was going on, it just doesn't really fit, which is strange because this movie is so turn of the century and I hate it. I hate this. I don't want to say fetishizing. I guess romanticization of uh, of the past. I don't like it because what happened to the 80s is going to happen to the 90s. It's going to happen to the 2000s, and we're just starting to get it. Because in the early 2010s, everything that was 80s had a revival, where you had Indiana Jones and Star Wars and like Ghostbusters and like all these things that were huge pop culture staples of the 80s had to be milked because they were recognizable IPs, and Gen Xers were starting to make movies, and like, you know, older millennials were starting to make movies, and they wanted to resurrect dead franchises, and then they were just filled with like pop culture references. Think like Pixels. Pixels would not be made now, but when in 2014, that was like the ripe age for older people now to start making movies, and that's just filled with 80s references. And that's what this movie feels like. This is the 2000s equivalent of, or whatever, turn of the century equivalent of Pixels, because it starts off and it's just like, I think the first shot of the movie, which I don't know if I need to say this, the first shot of your movie is one of the most important shots of any movie ever. It sets the tone and establishes the setting, and it is very, very important in order to hook your audience in. The very first shot of this movie is Windows 95 background. There is like some butt rock playing. I don't remember what song it was because I watched this a month ago. But and then it opens up AOL, and then there's a pop-up for some reason. No, he just opens like Internet Explorer, and then it like opens up to MSN, and there's a pop-up of Bill Clinton saying like, I did not have sex with that woman, like the sex scandal stuff. And then it opens up AOL, and then he opens up MySpace, and then it's just like full of like 2000s 90s references, and I'm like, this is like, you're waterboarding me with all of these pop culture references, and I get them, I understand, but a young person watching this movie, maybe like a 40-year-old watching this movie, like they are not going to understand a lot of these
I think
like,
everybody understands that stuff.
well, yeah, but like the big stuff, like the Bill Clinton things. But like, I I don't know, like older people aren't gonna like, oh yeah, I remember AOL.
Hey, you're in 1999. It's
I,
like the BoJack bit where they have to like make a song every time they do a decade flashback, and
well,
everything is like it's the 80s.
I like that. That's how you do
That's
that
great.
though. That's like a parody of this, where
Yeah.
this feels like it's just, ugh, it's just so over the top. And it's supposed to be like that's what I was saying. It's supposed to be establishing the year, but you can do that subtly. I talked about this a little bit when I watched the movie Dee, which came out this year, or I guess last year, where it did a similar thing. Kind of started with a lot of it was 2000s references, but then it like more or less abandons that about like 5 minutes in, and then just becomes a really great coming of age story. This movie takes way too long to get past that, and then it stays there forever because, spoilers, Fred Durst is in the movie
Yo.
as himself. And I need to talk about this because when I saw Fred Durst come on the screen, I was very happy. And I was like, this is great. Like a little cameo from Fred Durst. For those who don't know, Fred Durst is the frontman of Limp Bizkit, which even at the time was kind of laughed at as like nobody really liked Limp Bizkit. It was like frat guys, and that was probably it. Frat guys and dumb people really liked Limp Bizkit, because there was like actual like heavy rock, and then Limp Bizkit was just like, It's just weird and gross. Nobody liked it. And he's there. Basically, I guess he was like playing a show at the town that this happens to. And I guess all of the other members of Limp Bizkit died and were killed. And Fred Durst is the only one that survived, which is a weird plot point because he doesn't
Predators
see.
probably came up with that one.
I have to imagine
I'll
because
be in your movie, but you have to make sure every other member of the band was killed tragically.
it's really weird because he doesn't seem too shaken up about it
Yeah,
either.
exactly.
I I don't know the politics of Limp Bizkit. I don't think they do anything these days. I know Fred Durst actually he directed a movie
Oh,
3 or 4 years ago starring John Travolta called The Fanatic, I think, where John Travolta plays someone with mental disabilities. And it goes about as well as you would imagine
yeah.
from a Fred Durst directed film starring John Travolta. um, so when he showed up, I'm like, oh, okay. So he's just like, he's going to be making movies. He's in the movie scene now. He's in Hollywood. He's making moves. And now he's in this Kyle Mooney production. And I will say, when Fred Durst is on screen, it is funny because he's Fred Durst, and I just found that funny. And also, all of the characters, whenever they address him, they always call him Fred Durst. They never say Fred or Mr. Durst. They always say, "Oh yeah," and then me and Fred Durst did this, and it's every single time. It'll be like they'll say a sentence and they'll drop Fred Durst twice in the same sentence, and I'm like, okay, that's really funny that they just insist on calling him by his first and last name every time. And I have to bring up, when I say every time, he's in the rest of the movie. He shows up like halfway through and then he's in the movie. And I was like, okay. I like that they kept calling him Fred Durst, but why is Fred Durst a main character in this high school coming of age slasher thing? It doesn't really make sense. But whatever. I guess we'll talk about the actual plot, the actual characters. There's Guy, and then there's Hunt for the Wilder People kid, who's now a little bit older. Hunt for the Wilder People is a Taika Waititi movie. Takes place in New Zealand. This kid didn't even attempt to learn an American accent. It's just kind of like glossed over that he has the thickest New Zealand accent. I'm pretty sure the kid is Maori, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yes.
So he has like that specific kind of accent. And it's never really brought up why he's there. He has like a single mom, but spoilers, it doesn't really matter because he gets got like immediately and it doesn't matter at all. But Guy is very horny for Girl, played by Rachel Zegler, who is the queen of Hollywood right now, I guess. She was in West Side Story and I guess other things, but I haven't seen her in other things, so I don't know. She's fine in this. And then the kid Leroy is the bully character. Doesn't matter. He dies.
You can't bully anybody. What are you talking about?
He's wearing a blue varsity jacket the whole time, and he's like, "You guys are dweebs." Wait, no, he's not. He's kind of the bully. He's basically Rachel Zegler's boyfriend, but he's the douche jock, and she's the
Gotcha.
popular girl, and because it's a high school movie.
Yeah.
You understand. Oh, the bully is played by the guy from Stranger Things season 4. That's the high
Oh,
guy.
Argyle.
Yeah, it's that guy. He's the bully. And he's a skater guy. And then in that, he has like a posse, and there's like this scene chick that's always filming things with her camera. And then there's a guy who's in a rap group, and he's like a lyrical miracle rapper, but he thinks it's high art. All of these are just super like cookie cutter stereotypes. I don't really feel the need to go through them. But the best friend dies immediately, so does the kid Leroy. And the bully character, um, they're like whatever. Those are the survivors. It's the bully, the guy, and then the chick, Rachel Segler, the scene chick, and then Tribe Called Quest wannabe guy. Um, and there's this thing that this movie does that I think it thinks it's really funny, but it does it too many times. Where there's like something that is set up that could be fun and exciting, but then it's cut off abruptly as a joke. Where like they do this thing where they're clearly parodying kids on bikes because everybody gets on a bike and they're like, okay, let's ride away from this house party where all these computers are trying to kill us. And the bully character gets on his skateboard and he's like, oh, let's go. And then they like start riding. And then the bully character does this thing where he's going to like grind on a rail. But instead he like grinds and then falls over and then splits his head open and like dies. And it's like, oh, okay. That character's dead. And so is the best friend. So now we're just left with guy, girl, other girl with a camera, and other guy who's just a bad rapper. And they do that again because Kyle Mooney, like he's like, I'm gonna save you guys from a computer. And then he like takes some magic mushrooms because I guess that's I don't know. I guess that would make you a better fighter. I
No.
guess. I don't know. I don't know if Kyle Mooney has ever taken mushrooms or whoever wrote this. I don't know if they understand what mushrooms do to people. Um, but yeah, he takes some mushrooms. He's like, I'm gonna fight this computer. And then there's like this big action like lead up and he's like getting ready. And there's like the whatever, like an anime thing where like there's the action lines where it's like, oh, it's great. There's all this like psychedelic stuff since he took all the mushrooms. And then the robot just cuts his head off immediately. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? You're like setting up fun and exciting scenes and then having them end abruptly. And that works for a one light chuckle. But I don't enjoy the scene. I don't think about that and be like, that was really fun. I don't think about this movie and think it's really fun because it's all just stuff like that where it's they set up something fun and then it ends too quick. And yeah, it's just terrible. And all of the beats happen exactly how you think. Whatever. They win. The computers all croak and Tim Heidecker is now a cyborg, which is pretty sick. Oh, the one part that I actually did like is that they basically put you in like this giant, it looks like one of those X-ray machines at the airport where it's like a big tube. And you walk in there and then they put a little implant in your brain and they turn you into computer zombies, I guess. They're like using you as batteries, like the Matrix or something. But when you step into the tube, I guess there's like weird low budget green screen effects. And so when Tim Heidecker went in the tube and it was very low effort green screen effects, it reminded me of Awesome Show. And that just kind of made me laugh. But no one else in the theater did. So I think that was just a me thing. So I was like, oh yeah, looks like Awesome Show because that's like their whole thing. And I'm sure that was intentional because I feel like Tim Heidecker is just always in things because comedians these days grew up watching Awesome Show and were like, I want him to be in my movie. And so that was pretty fun for me. But yeah, it's overall it's just terrible. So stay away from Y2K. It might be kind of fun to watch with a group of people if you are getting drunk or something, because there's a lot of gore and violence, and they say fuck, and it's probably funny if you're inebriated. I'll just say that. Okay, the next movie I watched that I thought was important enough to talk about is Wicked. I watched the hit film Wicked.
Bless your soul.
I know. I went on this whole tirade about it. Not last episode, but the episode before. where I said that the trailer made it look sauceless, and why would I want to watch this musical that just seems so bland? I don't, it just, there's no color. Where's the color? You're basing it on The Wizard of Oz, one of the first movies in color. And that, I mean, it's like done with Technicolor. So it's super bright and vivid and like super saturated. And then because like I don't want to blame Marvel for everything, but like the Marvelification of big blockbusters is so apparent to me, where it's like we need to desaturate everything and make it look real. Where it's like we can't have this superhero look like a superhero. We need to make him look like a Black Ops Navy SEAL, but like with kind of little hints towards his superhero suit. And like just have fun for once in your life. And that was the kind of hint that I was getting with Wicked. I'm like, oh, I don't care about this. But I was home for the holidays, and my dear sweet mother said, "Hey, you're here on Christmas Eve. Do you want to go see Wicked at 9:30 a.m. on Christmas Eve?" And I said, "Oh, I sure. I guess I can't judge a movie if I haven't seen it." So I was a good sport, and I went and saw Wicked, and I thought it was pretty good. It's not. I don't get people saying that it's the best movie of all time. I have to assume they're theater nerds, but I just have to get this out of the way because it has a 4.0 on Letterboxd. That's very high. I think the highest thing is a 4.7. So anything above a 4.0 is really good. A 4 point is still very high for what this is. Um, so I have to assume that there's some sort of, I'm not going to say some sort of tomfoolery, but I think that like a bunch of Ariana fans like kind of flooded it and theater
It
nerds
did
kind
that
of
on
flooded
Album
it.
of the Year with the soundtrack too. So
Yeah, that makes sense. The stands in general are a plight to this great nation, and I think we need to cool it with that in general. But
the number one country of celebrity worship besides South Korea.
that's
That's
true.
who we are.
Yeah, yeah, I just don't like it. But I will worship one celebrity who is in this, and that is Jeff Goldblum. I love Jeff Goldblum a lot, and they mostly just let him do his thing. There's even a moment where, like, I'm pretty sure he went off book and they just like left it in the movie because he was like, "Oh, here's this little doodad. Don't want to lose it. One of them got lost in Munchkin Land or something," and then like Cynthia Erivo breaks and they leave it in the movie, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I like that they just let him be Jeff Goldblum for a second in the movie, and that's fun." But let's talk about the film Wicked. I guess I was already doing that, but let's talk about the story because I don't know. I didn't know anything about the story. I knew it was related to the Wizard of Oz. I only knew like whatever some details that I like learned from cultural osmosis, where like it's about the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda the Good Witch, and they were friends, and then they weren't friends anymore, and then there's Defying Gravity and Popular, and I'm like, okay, I understand, I get it. It's a thing, and it's also an allegory for racism, I guess. But you don't want to have the the person who's an allegory for the discriminated be played by a person of color or someone that would be discriminated against. You would have them be played by Queen Elsa from the Frozen. I mean, that was before the Frozen came out, but whatever. Just a weird choice. But they rectified that and had Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, played by Cynthia Erivo, who's great in general, and also in this movie. I think that she is by far the standout main draw. really the only thing that kept me really interested because her everything else is just kind of okay at best or whatever. Okay at worst, pretty good at best. It's sitting at a 3 star. This movie is a 3 star movie, and I don't really get anyone rating it below that or above that. I I don't know. But yeah, she has this very like dark backstory where her mom was like cheating on her. Or no, not cheating on her, but her mom was cheating on her dad, and she's like born out of wedlock. And because of, I don't know if it's because of that, but she's born with green skin, and she's the only person born with green skin, and it's like a big taboo thing. And whatever. It's about racism because all the kids make fun of her for it, and then she goes to this magic school because her sister's going there, and then all of the kids there are like, "Oh, a green woman! Oh, I'm so scared!" And
Me when
also,
I play Baldur's Gate.
that's yeah, that's true. It's odd. It's so heavy-handed where it's like they don't act like real people like that are racist. I feel like that's what the movie's going for, or maybe it's for like people with physical deformities. Even so, people who like have prejudice or discriminate against people for those things, they, for the most part, aren't like, "Hey, Greenie, you can't sit with us at the popular table. You need to sit by yourself because you're a stupid frog woman." And it's just like everybody's like that. And I'm like, okay, I've never been to a place where literally everybody is like, "Oh, you're a Mexican. You can't sit with me because you're a Mexican person." It's just unrealistic and kind of dumb to just portray everybody like that. It's really heavy handed, no subtlety at all. If that's what the movie's about, and it is kind of about that, you kind of have to have some more nuance to it than that. Or, and this could be a little suggestion for part two, because yes, this is a 3 hour movie. That's a part one.
Of
Uh,
course it is.
because you just couldn't fit the whole play or musical on Broadway is about 3 hours with
Yeah.
an intermission. But no, the first part has to be a 3 hour movie by itself. Um, and even then, I, I think it I think it needed to be longer because it really dropped the bag hard when it came to the main like thrust of the two characters' relationship. And I guess we'll just jump into that because I'm done talking about racism. Uh, the crux of the movie is the relationship between Elphaba and Glinda, the good witch and the evil witch. I'm just gonna call them by their names from this point on. You get it. Um, and they start off and they hate each other because she's a green woman and Ariana's a racist white lady um, who's super privileged and has basically only gotten to this school because of who her parents are. She's a nepo baby. So all in all, Ariana Grande is basically playing herself in this school in this hit film, and it's the whatever. You basically start the movie and you hate her, and she is a secondary protagonist, kind of. You're supposed to be really rooting for Elphaba, but then I don't know. I haven't seen the play or the musical, so I don't know how that goes. But uh, the movie fucked up really, really bad. And maybe the musical did too, because the first scene of the movie takes place after The Wizard of Oz, where the Munchkins are all like celebrating that the Wicked Witch died, that Dorothy murked the Wicked Witch. And they're like, "Yo, there's no more Wicked Witches because the other one got crushed by a big house." And then and then the green one got killed by water, and now we're all happy. And it's basically just this huge song that's a big diss track, and like, I'm glad you're dead, you stupid green bitch. That's basically the whole song. And Glinda's there and she starts singing along, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of messed up. If the whole movie's about them being friends, you're starting the movie with them being like, "Yeah, I'm also glad that she's dead. Like, this is a great time for me." And it even gets to the point where there's this giant effigy of the Wicked Witch that I guess for some reasons Munchkins made. Whatever, that's not important. But Glinda is the one that throws the torch on that statue. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So she's not whatever. There's like a little bit of conflict when she throws the torch. You can see it in her face a little bit, but then she's just like right back to singing about how much she hates this green hoe. And it's like, oh, okay, interesting way to start. And then we jump forward to the school, and she's basically like that already. She hates this green hoe because she's green, and oh, she's just so bad. She's so bad because she's a green woman. Oh, oh. I don't like green women. It's so weird. Why is that a thing? Why? Whatever. I'm done talking about racism and how it's portrayed in this film. I'm gonna talk about. Actually, I'm not really gonna talk about racism with the third one. It just has to do with Nazis. Um, and so then they start hating each other. And Glinda does these things that specifically sabotages Elphaba because she's Green Woman, and she's getting special treatment by like the headmaster of this school because she's gifted. And yeah, they hate each other. Glinda gives her a pointy black hat, and she's like, "It's so ugly." And when I see that, I'm like, that thing is rad as hell. First of all, the costume designer really went off on that hat. And I was like, okay, like, I don't get it, but whatever. Like, she's like, I'm going to give you a gift, and it's this awesome pointy hat. No one likes it. And then the Elphaba goes to the school dance where all those hot boys are, and everyone laughs at her stupid pointy hat. I'm like, why are you laugh? Everyone is in stupid robes. You're in a magic school. Someone shows up in a pointy hat. That shouldn't be out of the ordinary. Everybody's wearing stupid outfits. And in the movie, she isn't that out of place from literally everyone else. But everyone is making fun of the pointy hat like it's like one step too far. And I'm like, why? It doesn't make any sense. That is not the line in the sand that I think the movie intends it to be. Especially because everyone already hates her. Like, the pointy hat shouldn't be the tipping point where like Elphaba's like, oh, I thought
Tipping
this
point.
I didn't even mean to do that. Shouldn't be the tipping point where she's like, oh, I just realized that now everyone hates me. And she's like, starts breaking down and crying. And I'm like, everyone has been saying that you're a stupid, like, green woman this whole time. And like, that's been fine. But it's when they insult your pointy hat that you just got 2 minutes ago. That's the tipping point. And she like starts doing this interpreted dance, and Ariana's like, I actually feel bad that I gave her this pointy hat for some reason. And then she starts doing the dance too, and it's this emotional thing. And then immediately they're friends. I don't know if I really need to get into why that's a problem. Again, with the racism thing. Because okay, sorry, I have to talk about racism again, because why on earth would anyone who was like openly discriminated against and like just was subject to straight up hate speech would just be like so forgiving of their oppressor? There's just the moment that they have an interpretive dance together, and then like it's just wrong. It's just, and like, if that's the message, that's what people are going to take away, is that the oppressors should be forgiven because of one good act. And it's also demonstrated after the fact that she hasn't learned anything because she still tries to like force Elphaba to fit this like cutout of herself. She's trying to like, that's what the popular song is. She's trying to give Elphaba a makeover and like uh, whatever. You need to be more like me. You need to be more like me because we're gonna make you popular. And I'm like, so you don't care. You don't care about her as a person. You care about her as a vessel, as a doll that you can dress up and make your little pet project. But they're best friends. And Elphaba even says that she's her best friend. And I'm like, it's just, ugh, it's gross. And I don't think that's what the movie was intending to do. And it's just like, I don't really like that. Um, but whatever. That's where we're at. They're immediately best friends. And then, like, also Ariana Grande is dating this, like, super hot jock guy who is, on the surface, a stuck up, snooty playboy, but secretly has a heart of gold under that rough exterior. Which is an archetype that I've never seen before. So I have to applaud Wicked for pulling off this great original character. And but Elphaba also has a crush on him, and they have some will they won't they moments, and it's very very heartwarming. Where so she's friends with Ariana Grande, they're best friends, but Elphaba is like yearning for her boyfriend and like wanting the guy to cheat on her with herself. And I'm like, this is so they aren't that good of friends because I don't know. Baby, I wouldn't try to steal your girlfriend.
I would hope not.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. And I would hope that would
You
go
have to
from
sing a song and interpret a dance about it. If so,
well, that I guess that's the one acceptable way to do it, I guess. Or not acceptable, but you would have to respect it a little bit, I think.
it's true.
If I pulled off an entire interpretive
It
dance
takes a lot of work.
that somehow convinced your girlfriend of over 2 years to leave
Mhm.
you, I think a part of you would be somewhat
That'd be
impressed.
impressive.
I, I'm not gonna try.
Then it would be a revenge story of me getting even funkier with my dance to do a better
Oh,
literal peacocking, if you will.
that would be good.
That's Wicked too.
It might be. I have no idea. So whatever. They're not that good of friends, and then she's invited to go to Oz, and she goes to Oz, and she takes Ariana with her because she's her best friend. But here's where my problem lies. You have that dance scene, and then you have that scene where they do the makeover thing, and then Elphaba tries to get her boyfriend to cheat on her, and then they go to Oz and they're best friends. There are no scenes in between though, in there in the middle, where they are actually developing a friendship. I never, ever, ever bought their relationship as being real, as them being actual friends. They have basically no chemistry. And I'm like, and the whole like oppressor oppressed thing was going through my head the entire time. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense on like a realistic level. If you're going to have this stance on racism, which I'll talk about a little bit more because there's this side plot that is more overtly about racism, because I guess Green Lady being hated because she's green isn't enough. There's another thing. Um, but yeah, basically they just go to Oz and then they're like, "Oh, she's my best friend. I love her. We're BFFs." Uh, Whatever. Who cares? And but let's talk about more racism, because also remember in The Wizard of Oz, there's talking animals. Do you remember this?
They do.
Re-
It's an integral part of the movie.
Yes. Well, actually, I think there's only one talking animal, just the lion.
Just the lion.
Is that it? Do the monkeys talk?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't really remember any other animals. The dog doesn't talk. I'll tell you
No.
that much. But he's from Earth or
Earth.
whatever. But there are talking animals in Wicked, and they were apparently more of a thing before the Wizard of Oz showed up. They existed, and it was a prosperous time where animals and humans existed in harmony, and there wasn't any sort of apartheid going on. But ever since that evil Jeff Goldblum showed up, he started enacting all sorts of evil, racist schemes, unknown to us, the audience, because he is painted as the best boy who has ever lived, which I think might be trying to do like dramatic irony thing, because we know that the wizard is a huge huckster and fraud from the film. But everyone talks about him like he's the best guy who's ever lived. Um, so I don't know. It's a little odd. Um, but whatever. There's a bunch of animals, and there's a professor at the school who's a goat who is played by Peter Dinklage.
He's the goat.
He is the goat. Peter Dinklage is. People are mad at Peter Dinklage right now.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess he pulled the ladder up.
Mm.
Because I think it was something. I don't know if he had something to do with it, but with the Snow White live action remake starring Rachel Zegler from Y2K,
Of course.
I don't know. I think he just spoke out against. He was like, I don't want little people to be kind of typecast as like these like characterizations of ourselves. Like we're real people. We can play real roles. And then for the live action remake, they didn't hire any little people, and they're all just CG. So people are like, oh, those are 9 or 7 roles that could be filled by little
I think
people.
that's
actors.
not his fault.
No, it's not his
Because
fault.
the sentiment is true.
The sentiment is absolutely true, because and this is one that I didn't think was quite interesting enough to bring up, but I watched The Station Agent, which is an early role for Peter Dinklage. Like, he's very young in it. And it's, sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, not talking about Wicked, but that movie is about like him as a little person and his experiences in life. I mean, it's not specifically about him. It's just a story about a little person. And I think that movie is really interesting because if it was about like someone that was not a little person, then this person would be like the most boring person in the world, because he's just like super into trains, and he like likes just sitting by the train tracks and watching trains go by and like noting what models
Me
they
too,
are.
brother.
He's just like super boring. But because he's a little person, he gets so much attention, and like people will like make fun of him, or just like look at him funny or stare and take pictures. And I think he even says something in the movie to that effect, where he's like, if I wasn't little, like people wouldn't really pay attention to me because I'm really boring. And I thought that was just like this really like great nuanced take. And it was a movie that came out like 20 years ago. So I like Peter Dinklage. I think he's very good. And I like little people. I've never met one. I would like to meet one and take a picture with them.
Send me your email.
Send me your email. I want to do everything that movie tried to teach me not to do. That's what I want.
That's the moral of the story.
I think so. But anyway, back to Wicked. There's this goat played by Peter Dinklage, and he's like, animal civil rights. We need to have civil rights for animals. And then I guess there's like this, I don't know if the wizard is doing it, but somehow all of the animals are losing their ability to talk. And like they're reverting back to their like animalistic nature. They're not able to be that intelligent.
Returning to monkey, if you will.
They are turning to monkey. I don't think there are monkeys, because the flying monkeys. But those, they don't really talk. They don't. That's interesting. They don't talk in this movie either. But like that's a thing. And then Elphaba's like, I relate to these animals because I am also being discriminated against by all these humans. So I sympathize more with the animals than I do with the humans. Um, and so like that's a thing. She's going to Oz because she wants to talk to the wizard and be like, yo, we need to have animal civil rights up in here because why are we like putting animals in cages and like it's very clear like that almost is like an allegory for like concentration camps. I'm like, we need to put them in cages and keep them separate. Or I guess maybe more like apartheid. I don't know. But the scene like that is introduced is because the goat guy gets fired or let go or some whatever. He leaves. And then his replacement is like this professor, and he's like, hey, everybody, I'm an evil racist against animals. Let me show you this invention that I thought of. It's called a cage. And let's bring in the baby lion that definitely won't lead to something later in another movie that came out 90 years ago. But this little lion, I'm going to put him in a cage and everyone's going to feel bad. And then Elphaba breaks him out and leaves him in the forest. And then I'm sure that lion probably dies because it's a baby lion and it's in the middle of the forest and not its natural habitat. There's tigers and bears in the forest also. So they'll probably get got. And that's fine. There's
It's an
a,
allegory for people who think zoos shouldn't exist.
I guess. I don't know. This movie's full of social commentary, I guess. Um, that's pretty much it. It's just all. It's whatever. I don't want to go into the end of the movie because it's out and people are still talking about it. People are still seeing it. It doesn't really matter. Like, can I even talk about spoilers? Because it's been a musical for like 30 years.
Yeah,
Is that even a thing?
I have
Um,
no idea.
it doesn't really matter. It's fine. The Defy Gravity scene's great. I think that Cynthia Erivo is a very talented singer, and I think that she knocks that number out of the park. I know I just went on this huge tangent of it being not very good, or it's pretty good, but it's not great. But I do need to just bring up again how great Cynthia Erivo is in this movie because she pulls off being like just utterly devastated that the entire world is against you based on the color of your skin very well. And I'm sure some of that comes with like real life experience. You know, you can draw from that when you're actually a person of color being discriminated against in this country instead of a white lady. Speaking of white ladies, something that I need to talk about before I bring this wicked discussion to a close is that
Wicked.
there's this cameo from, not even a cameo, that's not fair. There's this extended cameo from the original cast, Kristen Chenoweth and Adina Menzel, who played Elphaba. Well, they played Glinda and Elphaba respectively. And they have this whole musical number where they talk about the lore of how the wizard came to Oz and what Oz was like. But, and I need to say this for the people in the back, it sucks. It's so bad and so heavy handed where like it would have been fine if they were like not in the background. Let's say that they had like one line each or a couple lines each. They're a fun comedy duo and that's it. But they're in this whole musical number where they're singing and they're like embodying the characteristics of the characters in Wicked that they played. So like Kristen Chenoweth is like super arrogant and self-centered, like she's constantly butting in front of Adina Menzel. And I'm like, wait, so what like is like let's say for a second that you haven't seen the musical. This doesn't make any sense. That like Oh, like, you know nothing about the original Wicked. You have no idea who the original cast of the Wicked Broadway musical was. This doesn't make any sense. And it's just confusing and awkward for literally everyone. I knew this because, like, I know those two, and I knew that the characters they played because, you know, my mom is a very big fan of Wicked, obviously, because she took me to see it on Christmas Eve at 9:30 a.m. Uh, and so like that was kind of apparent to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, so they're doing the character thing. That's weird. Seems a little odd and off-putting, but whatever. And then, and then Adina Menzel walks over to Cynthia Erivo, and Kristen Chenoweth walks over to Ariana Grande, and they have a moment where they're like, "Oh, I love your outfit. I love your hair." And it's just like, okay, this is so
Disney
forced.
World.
It's so like you don't need to go that far. Like there's the line is like there and they took like 5 jumps over where it's just so forced and it's just like, "Hey theater kids, remember Wicked, the movie that you're currently watching? Remember when it was on a stage? Isn't that fun? Wasn't that a fun time to watch that 30 years ago? And now you're an old. Isn't it nice to see these two characters kind of pass the torch to the new generation? Oh, it's just so nice. And so I saw that and I was like, this is so gross. I hate every second of it. I want this gone off of my screen immediately. And then I saw online that everyone loves that scene. And I have to assume that everyone who says that is most likely dumb, because, wow, that was that honestly, I think that probably like erased half a star for me. It might have been a 3.5 star movie. It got pushed down to 3 stars because that is one of the worst things I've ever seen in a motion picture. And I don't want to like hyperbolize it, but it's just awful. So that's Wicked. It's pretty good. Okay, now let's talk about Nazis. It's a different it's a different kind of racism. I'm not gonna talk about it. I don't know. This movie maybe I definitely needed to save it for last because it's heavy, but it's not one that I should have done because now I'm tired because I talked about 2 movies for a long time
You
and
did too much Wicked.
I did too much Wicked and now I have to talk about Downfall, which is a movie about Hitler. And specifically, it's a movie about like the last 5 days of Hitler's life as the Soviets are closing in on Berlin. Um, that's what this movie's about. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, that's kind of an interesting angle. You don't see a lot of World War II movies from the perspective of the Nazis for a good reason, I'd say. I don't really think they deserve to
Just
be.
do it very carefully.
You'd have to do it very carefully. And I think for the most part, they do. Some parts I'm not sure about. I might want to bring the director into question. I need to have a serious conversation because there are some choices that I'm like, oh, I don't know if they intended this scene to read this way. I'll just say the scene where Hitler kills himself, there's somber music playing. I don't know.
I just want like the chicken dance.
I know. I'm like, I don't know if like, am I supposed to be sad that Hitler just died? I'm not. Like, I don't know. Um, Also, they don't show it. You need to show it,
Like
please.
nobody shows it. Why does nobody show it?
You know, that's why Inglorious Bastards is one of the best movies.
Exactly.
There's a close up of Hitler's face being shot like 20 times. Like, we need that. Both him and Goebbels, their deaths are off screen.
Y'all love making war movies and showing the goriest, most like evil thing you can show on screen when it comes to like war deaths. And then it's like, oh, we
Yeah.
can't show Hitler dying.
Yeah, that's the weird part because they actually show like people kill themselves, like a
Hmm.
lot. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of high-ranking Nazi officials that just blow their heads off and they show it. And there's like squibs and everything. But for some reason, Hitler and Eva Braun, they aren't shown. And then Goebbels and whatever his wife's name is, they don't show that either. It's all off screen. And I'm like, that was honestly the part I was looking forward to the most. I'm like,
Hmm.
I need to see Hitler die. That's the whole point of this movie. It's called Downfall. Show it, you coward. But I digress. I'm just saying, so somber music should not be playing when Hitler dies. It. I don't know what music
Birds
should be
will
playing.
fly.
I don't know. I don't know what music you play. Maybe
You don't
just
gotta play
none.
no music. Yeah.
Yeah, just nothing. That's probably the way to do it. Just have it be, it's really real. And I think that's what the point of this movie is that it's supposed to be kind of humanizing these Nazi officials, which, uh, if I say it like that, it sounds bad. But I think it's important to know that, like, when it comes to Nazis or any sort of like evil institution, any fascist, whatever, any dictatorship, it's easy to paint the entire administration as wholly evil or evil and monstrous. But that makes it seem like it's unattainable or that it's unrepeatable because, oh, well, we aren't that bad anymore. I think
Or
taking,
worse.
yes, yes. But that's what I'm saying is that, like, raising these evil figures up to this level of
Yeah,
like
it's stupid.
infamy,
Super
it,
villain.
yeah, it makes it seem like that, well, that can't happen again because nobody's that evil. I think that's what the point of this movie is to kind of like flesh these characters out and bring them down to a human level. Show, yes, show the evil, like show the actual bad stuff that they did, but also show them as real people because
That's
that's,
why I like Todd so much in Breaking Bad.
yeah, okay. Yes, this is a side thing. But yes, Todd, I I honestly think, and I don't care what anyone says, I think that Todd is just as interesting a character as Gus is.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm really glad you're on board with that because I feel like that's very controversial.
Not at
Uh,
all. Maybe to
okay,
Breaking Bad fans who increasingly are
well, yeah.
strange, but
As I was rewatching Breaking Bad this time, I was just like, wow, like there's a lot of layers to that character
hmm.
where there are moments where he's like really genuinely empathetic and kind, but also he's a psychopath who like, or at least a sociopath that like can't separate like his own like motives and whatever from other people's emotions. It's like this really interesting dichotomy
Yeah.
that I think is it's nice. I like Gus a lot. I think they're even in terms of interesting. I wish
Mhm.
that Todd was introduced earlier because I would have liked to seen his character fleshed out a little bit more.
That's
Unfortunately,
a good part about El Camino, I suppose.
that's true. Yeah, that is probably my favorite part of El Camino is those
Hmm.
flashbacks with Todd. Um, but Todd, I guess Todd is kind of a Nazi.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Todd isn't really part of that gang. It's just his uncle. I don't know if he's a Nazi. He probably is, but I don't know. He doesn't have any tattoos, I guess. It's hard to know.
Not that we've seen.
Not that we've seen. That's true. But yeah, Downfall. Um I don't really know what I okay. So this movie it focuses on I think it was an interview. Oh geez, the description on Letterboxd is not helping me with the name, but it was an interview with Hitler's secretary at the time, Trondel Junge, who was like she was hired by Hitler when she was 22 in 1943. So she was 24 by the end of the Nazi regime, and she was in the bunker with Hitler through when he killed himself. So I think they had like some interview with her. They cut to documentary footage at the beginning and at the end of like the actual interview that they had with her, which is really interesting, um, because it goes to illustrate that like not everyone surrounding Hitler was like 100% on board with everything that he was doing. In fact, like she even says where she's like, everyone in my family, all of my friends told me not to get involved with the Nazis because like they knew that it was trouble and that like nothing good would come of it. And like she even like she says like, yeah, they were definitely right. Like, and she didn't even like, well, I mean, take this as a grain of salt because she's literally a Nazi, but she is like, yeah, I didn't even know, like, I knew that there were concentration camps, but I didn't know that like the Holocaust was going to that scale. Where she's like, after the war ended and I saw there was 6 million Jewish people killed, I didn't know that it was that big. Which, you know, I don't know. If everything that I've seen surrounding the Holocaust is it kind of points to most German people, if they didn't know about it
They
exactly,
had at least an idea.
they had an idea, and
Yeah.
most of them were on board with it.
I mean, it's not like nowadays where you can witness this stuff happening on your smartphone, which is just as
Right.
horrifying, but like they definitely had an idea.
Yes. Yeah. Um, yeah, because that's like a big question and like intro to history things. Like, did they
Hmm.
know? Probably, yes. Most of them did. Because, I mean, it wasn't something that the Nazis were really keeping under wraps, but it also wasn't something that they were like putting in speeches where it's like, yo, our number is
Yeah.
at 3 million. But like, they knew that like Jewish people were being rounded up and taken from the ghettos that they were being held up in and were taken to camps, like work camps, and then later, like, whatever, execution, murder camps, concentration camps, and it was just yeah. So I don't know if I totally trust her, especially with how close she was to Hitler, where like she was like taking, I mean, she was his secretary. So like everything that he wanted written down, she was transcribing. So she probably knew. So I don't know if I totally get like that. But having that first person account did lead to like pretty much everything is historically accurate, like down to the days, down to like around the same times that it happened, which is kind of crazy. I think this movie on Google, yeah, it's categorized as war slash documentary because like it's like scarily accurate. Um, the only thing that I caught that it wasn't historically accurate is that Hitler freaks out a lot. Like he is not constantly, but once it's like pretty much like whatever, the Russians have basically beaten them and it seems like they've definitely lost. He like starts yelling at generals, starts cussing them out and like I should have done what Stalin did and killed all of them. That I mean he might have said something to that effect, but everything that we know about what it was like in the bunker during this time is how quiet it was. Hitler wasn't yelling. He was like quiet and secluded and he would give like orders to generals, but he wasn't like freaking out. It was all internal. He was having like this like serious identity crisis or whatever, where he thought that he was on top of the world and now it was all falling. And it wasn't something that he was explosive about. He kept it contained. That was the one thing that I'm like, okay, it's not 100% historically accurate, but I understand
You gotta take some
you
liberties.
got to take some liberties and you got to make it a movie. You gotta have Hitler be a character. And I think having the like dichotomy of like him, where like Goebbels brings his children into the bunker and they call him like Uncle Hitler. And like he has like the kids on his lap and they're singing him a song and he's like he seems like genuinely happy. Like you have to like contrast those moments with like his world falling apart. And I understand that this is a movie and you have to show that visually and through the script. I understand. Um, but everything else was pretty G dang accurate. So good on ya. I think it helps too. This is a German movie. I think the production companies were in Germany, Austria, and Italy. Curious, all Axis powers. I don't know if that means it. I don't know if that means anything. um, uh, but yeah, and it's all in German, which I appreciated. I think is it. Well, I don't know why I'm asking you. I think it's the movie Hunt for Red October or something, where like the first 15 minutes are in Russian and then it switches to English because it like breaks the 180 line and that's how it's done. I don't remember if it's that movie, but it's something like that, which is fine. I understand wanting to, or not wanting to have your actors learn Russian and just whatever, just have them do English. It's easier for an American audience, but I do appreciate that this movie's all in German. Well, not all in German, because there is some English and some Russian when those characters are there, whatever. But yeah, I think that this movie is pretty effective at what it does, at showing the Nazi Reich kind of falling apart in like painstaking detail. It also kind of shows that like the high-ranking officials of the Nazi regime were basically opportunists that were like basically only following Hitler and like kind of worshiping Hitler only because it was advantageous to their careers. A lot of them like were
Totally not relevant.
no, it's not.
Not topical.
No, it's not topical at all. But like some of them are like, and I don't know how realistic this is, but they were like, yeah, I'm a careerist. I'm only in this because like it's advancing my career. I married Eva Braun's sister because it advanced my career. Like I don't know if they were that blunt, but whatever. It gets the point across. But like it also like really shows the horrors of it. It doesn't like there is some of like and this is something that I appreciated too, is that I think a lot of times us in Western countries or really anywhere outside of Germany view the liberation of Berlin as a wholly good thing, which it was. I don't want to. I want to get out in front of that. It was good that the Nazi party fell, but there is like a lot of scenes of like people in Germany, like civilians, where like the Russians were using artillery on Berlin, and this isn't wholly Russia's fault because Hitler was also like, if the civilians aren't willing to fight, then they deserve to die. So like there was a lot of civilian deaths in Berlin because the Nazis basically abandoned the people, and the Russians, I mean, they were just
An unfortunate casualty
it's
of war.
yeah. I mean,
it was all artillery. They didn't like shoot civilians in the street.
no, it wasn't like that.
No.
But yeah, it's just like that was like really kind of telling for me, where it was like, oh yeah, it just kind of puts that in frame of reference.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, okay, this is bad. This part of it was bad. Also, like, Nazis utilized child soldiers. So then, like, that gets shown too, where, like, there's dead Nazi children in the street. And it's just like, oh, this is so awful. Like, it's kind of hard to watch. Not kind of. It is hard to watch. Everything in this movie is so hard to watch. And I was, like, folding laundry. And I'm like, I don't want to I don't want to do anything for the rest of the day. Kind of ruined my day off, but it's fine. Um, but yeah, and then there's the scene where Goebbels' wife kills all their kids, and they had like 6 kids, and it's just it's so it's awful. It's awful because I think their like thing was like they don't want to live in a world. They don't want their kids to live in a world without national socialism. I was just like, don't like. It's so sad that these Nazi kids got murdered. Well, I shouldn't frame it like that. But that these kids got murdered. Like the youngest one was maybe like 5. Like yeah, whatever. They didn't know. Um, yeah, hard movie to watch. I think it's an important movie though, uh, because, like I said, not enough. Well, whatever. A lot of World War II movies just frame Nazis as the bad guys, which they were, but it's important to also frame them as real people. And I think this movie does a pretty good job of that. But should have shown Hitler killing himself. Should have shown Goebbels killing his wife and himself. Like you need to show the end. That I know I was kind of like half joking where I'm like you got to show it, but it's also like you need to do that. You actually like this isn't optional. You need to show the actual end of it and like the blunt reality of that too. If you're going to humanize these people, you need to humanize the end because having it be off screen with somber music, that elevates it where it's like, oh, that the legend died. And it's like, don't do that. Don't do that because you're putting that up on a pedestal too, where it's like this is an important moment in history when Hitler died, and it was, but it's not real. It's not like how it actually happened. And if that's what the movie's trying to do and bring these people down to earth, you need to do that. Show it. So if there's ever a Downfall 2, or if Disney live action remakes it, have Hitler kill himself and let us see it. And just show it really blunt. Don't do like a Tarantino thing where there's just like a fountain of blood coming out. Have it be real. But we need to see it. That's all I'm saying. And there shouldn't be somber music. Cut that out. I think there was somber music when Goebbels died too, and he killed his wife and then himself. And I'm like, why did you do that? That doesn't. I mean, I know that's what happened, but I don't know. Why am I sad? This dude's evil. Goebbels was like comically evil. Uh, so that's Downfall. Watch it eventually. That I don't know. I don't think this is one that I can wholeheartedly recommend. It's one like American History X or like Three Billboards where I'm like, this is like it's required viewing, I think, to understand the human nature. But I don't know if I'm ever gonna watch this movie again because it's very hard to watch. So it's Downfall. Watch it if you hate Nazis or if you love Nazis. There's something in it for everyone, I guess. I guess. But yeah, those are all the movies that I thought were interesting enough to talk about. The ones that I did watch that I didn't talk about, I did Station Agent, Christmas Story, and Wallace and Gromit. I didn't talk about Wallace and Gromit because I'm going to be watching the new one, and I'll be talking about that next week.
Oh yeah,
So
I need to watch that too. We'll have a discussion.
it comes out tomorrow as of us recording. So
Great. I'm putting a reminder in my phone.
I'm looking forward to it. I've heard really good things, and it's only like an hour 20. So
It's the best thing Britain has ever done.
I think so. I think so. I like it more than the Paddington movies. I'll say that.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say that legally, but
I don't know if I've seen a Paddington movie, so it's acceptable.
okay. I remember the second one, and it was pretty good, but not as good as Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were Rabbit.
Of course, that's a classic.
It's a classic. But yeah, I think with that being said, I'm gonna toss it on over to Babby for his segment of the show.
Whoa, I can't catch. I didn't play sports. I did. Um, music.
Music.
We're back. It's always nice when there's a new year because I get to toss all the other stuff in the trash and we get to talk about a completely fresh new batch of things.
That's right.
Nothing has come out yet. It stuff would have come out like when you're hearing this, there will be probably some stuff out. But we'll talk about stuff from the end of last year and then very, very, very beginning of this year.
Yeah.
So, I will start us off. I don't know if there's any big news happening right now. Um, there we just have the typical album announcements that we've already talked about. So,
I think there
I
was
think
one thing. I don't know. The Little
there's a
Sims.
couple things actually. Oh yes, there's a Little Sims song. Is there a Little Sims project?
I think this is the lead single because on
Okay,
Twitter she posted the song and then said "See you in 2025."
gotcha.
I'm
Okay,
assuming
we'll
this
talk
is
about
leading
that in a
something.
couple minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for news, we did get this kind of just dropped on us randomly. Yasin Bey, Most Def, and The
Oh,
Alchemist are doing a collab album this year,
yo.
which is crazy. Um, so I don't want to get my hopes too high because I did that with Black Star, even though it's a pretty solid album, just was annoying release wise,
Yeah.
and it's recorded very shoddily. It's not the best like I don't know. It's decent. I feel like Talib Kweli did not age nearly as well as Most Def. I feel like he was
Oh.
definitely falling off a lot of the tracks. And
Oh.
I still think Most Def is in a very good spot. Talib Kweli fell into the basic black executive business model of weirdness that
Yeah.
sometimes happens. But I am very excited for this. So we'll see when it comes out. The Alchemist is like working overtime, which is not surprising. That's what he always does.
Yeah.
But this should be good. Like Most Def, he's incredibly solid. Like
Oh yeah.
the consistency is crazy when it comes to him. So, um, yeah, very excited for that. That was kind of news out of nowhere.
That's great.
Yeah, got a new Panchico record coming out in April. There's a Billy Woods feature on one of the songs, and I think that song is out now. I just have not heard it. It's just a very strange combo,
Oh.
um, but I'm here for it. So get some Billy Woods over some Dream Pop. That would be lovely. I don't
I
know how that's
guess.
gonna go. But yeah, so excited for that. I think those are the big ones that have been kind of been floating around. I think SZA announced that the official
Oh yeah.
fixing of the mixes to Lana is coming out. I think it should be out by the time this video is out,
I,
I
I
believe. The
I
third.
think the 6th. That's what
The
she said.
sixth,
Yeah.
which is weird. She's also adding more songs, which I don't
That's okay. I didn't hear
whatever.
that. That's
Whatever.
disappointing.
Yeah, I think there's three more songs that they did not have time to put on the deluxe, even though you've had so much time to put out this deluxe, yada yada yada. I'm not going to get into all that. I think we're gonna get some very mixed receptions to that video when it comes out, but I'm standing my ground on this is kind of like a very shoddy and
Oh
not
yeah.
great thing to release,
I'll
and
stand on
the
business.
music isn't even that great. So maybe the updated mixes will change my mind, but I doubt it.
I doubt
I
it
think
too.
there are glimmers in some of these tracks, but there's not a lot of bangers or anything on there. There's not a lot of interesting things going on. Um, but we'll see when that comes out. It's hard to view the reception for it because I'm not sure. Album of the year is very wiggy when it comes to R&B and stuff in general. There's a couple of genres on that site that people just really don't pay attention to,
Oh.
or interact with in a meaningful way. I don't know. I think there's an influx of Gen Z and younger people going into album of the year now because these year-end lists and everything are very skewed into really random parts, and it's difficult to put a pin on some things.
Hmm.
But that's just a little bubble that I exist in when it comes to like seeing reception and things. Um, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I know some people are also not feeling it.
I'm not feeling
But
it.
yeah, and if you're not feeling it, there's something wrong. So, um, let's talk about stuff that I've listened to. I think I'll start with the K the I and Kenny Segal collab album. This came out in the beginning of December, but I have not been able to talk about it yet because we've been doing list stuff. Um, this was something I was looking forward to, just knowing that Kenny Segal had a full length project coming out. I have not heard of K the I before at all. I believe he's, kind of in the same realm of that indie New York hip hop that's kind of been around. I think his first album was in 2006. That makes sense. Um, but the album is Genuine Dexterity. The beats on it are really sick. I think the palette that Kenny Segal brings is just great as usual. It's jazzy and it's floaty and spacey, and there's some really just funky production on here. The issue I have is actually with K the I. I don't know if I quite get it. It's it almost I don't think he matches Kenny's production style. Kenny Segal has a very kind of I don't want to say kind of like sludgy. It's slower and it mends well for a lot of negative space.
Mm.
K the I provides zero negative space. He is quick and loud and in your face, rippity rapping and up on these like beats that probably require him to be going half the BPM that he's going. So it creates a kind of friction that I'm not really into. Some of the tracks work a lot better than others. I think the Spellcasted Television with Arm and Hammer is really great. And I think Crushed Heavenly with Shrapnel as well is like really good. Um, and then I think like the ending of the record, like Tentative Surfacing and Opening Night, I think those are good as well. But I don't know if this is the right producer rapper combo. I think Kenny can be very versatile, but I don't think it. I don't think K the I knew how to really tackle some of these beats,
Mm.
um, or at least it's a style that I'm not really into when it comes to that. I think when with Kenny, I really like to appreciate the production as well as the writing of the artist. And when you're kind of like lyrical miracling over a Kenny Segal beat, it
Oh.
doesn't feel right with me almost. Um, so unfortunate. It's still a very decent listen, but not one that I'm gonna like really return to a lot. Besides of a couple handful of songs, but the beats are very good. So if Kenny Segal releases a instrumental version of this thing, I will definitely be picking it up because the beats are gorgeous. Um, what do we got next? This came out also on December 6th. We got a Shabaka EP called Possession. Um, this is great. This is fantastic. I don't know if he's releasing vinyl for this, but I really, really, really want there to be. It's a 5 track EP. Uh, we got Billy Woods, we got Elucid, we got Andre 3000, we got Esperanza Spalding, and someone whose name I can't pronounce. Nduduzo Makhatini. I'm
Oh.
definitely pronouncing that right. This is great. I really loved his album from last year. This is kind of a continuation of that, but just in like a tighter knit package. It's really just like a nice. There's nothing too long or expansive about it. I think the longest one was the Andre song because he's playing flute on it.
Mm.
Um, but they match super well. So yeah, if you're looking for some more jazz stuff, I think this is easier to get into than his full length record from last year. Just as like a little slice to see if you're digging it or not. But kind of combining that more left of field hip hop with spiritual jazz is working very well for him. He's been on a hot streak so far, so I'm just looking out for anything he puts out. So check that out if you're into that because it is so nice. Um, all right, next got Ka. Uh, I'm kind of I'm not fully committing to a Ka deep dive yet. I'm taking it slow and seeing if that's something I want to go through. Still finishing up another discography deep dive, and it's a lot more work than I thought it would be going into it for some reason. I don't know why I didn't think it was going to be like a very, very, very long project. Usually I just get on mic and just talk, and it comes out pretty well usually. But like when I have to sit down and talk about multiple records, I can't hold that much in my dome, so I got to
Mm.
write a whole bunch of stuff down and connect things. Um, and I don't think it's going to help doing like one of the most lyrical rappers, but we'll see. But this one I did is Descendants of Cain, which was his 2020 record. Um, Kind of similar to The Thief Next to Jesus in terms of its subject matter, but the instrumentals are very, very, very different than that record. Um, Definitely more what you'd expect for kind of this New York underground hip hop style. Um, Definitely not as like quite as like drumless or anything, but it gets close to it. Um, there's some really nice like guitar and like that kind of samples that are going on in here though. In terms of producers, we have Ka doing production. We have Preservation, Rock Marciano as well, which is great. The song with Rock Marciano is really, really, really fantastic. I know those two have like a lot of songs together, and this is like one of the only ones I've heard so far. But their chemistry is very, very, very good. I think they both kind of fill the same space on the mic almost. You can almost not tell the difference between them because their styles are kind of similar. But Ka is like the incredibly like educated, introspective, wide thinking kind of member, and then Rock Marciano almost serves as the West Side Gun, more street focused. But they both have like incredible bars and flows on the track, and it's a beautiful contrast. Um, and I think with the just the record in general of dealing with poverty and street life and all these things mixed with these kind of higher concepts of religion and stuff, it works really well. I'm definitely getting more used to his flow and his voice. It's a lot like easier for me to get into now. I think that Thief Next to Jesus took me a couple of times just because he can be so monotone and kind of like kind of gruff in his vocals. Um, but yeah, this is a really good one to get into. I think it's very easy to get into. Um, Loved it on first listen. I think it was just as good as Thief Next to Jesus. I kind of am pairing the two together right now. Um, but yeah, I think it's really great. So if you're into this kind of stuff, like don't miss it. I think a lot of people are going to be kind of going back and getting into his discography. Unfortunately, too late. Um, but I believe he owned a lot of his music, so a lot of it should be going directly to the estate, which is great. Um, I do have to shout out the outro though because that is one of the best songs I've ever heard. I think it's yeah. I love Mimi Mom's Kev. It's amazing, amazing, amazing outro. Yeah, I don't know if I can really even talk about it. It's just like mom songs in hip hop are always really fantastic, and this is one of the better ones I would say.
Mm.
So if you're looking for that itch, this one is just incredible. I think especially like having mortality be present in his work now because of recent events. It's almost impossible to separate this as we're going back throughout the discography. But this is probably the best song he's done so far that I've heard. It is so good. So at least check that one out. I think we can go to some singles that came out next before I talk about the last one. Jane Remover is back.
Oh,
I've listened to Census Designated. That was her kind of shoegaze slowcore album. I did not listen to Frailty yet, which I believe was more, I don't want to say hyper pop, but kind of that more online electronic kind of sound. Um, so I didn't really have a big like expectation going into what she was going to really do next because I know she kind of goes all over the place. But this new single, I think it's called JR. It is like a rage. I think that's what you would classify it as. It's this hyper poppy rage kind of almost hip hoppy mess that is just great. um, it is pixelated and distorted and all over the place, um, and completely different than everything I've heard from her. And I think it's great. It sounds like the best Playboy Cardi song you'll probably hear, which is I think I can say that now. I don't know. Playboy Cardi seems to have fallen off of a cliff lately.
oh
Um,
snap!
I don't think that's a hot take.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unless you're in the Playboy Cardi fandom. In that case, you are 16, and I do not care what you have opinion wise. Um, I think it's great. It has such a fun energy to it, and the production is so complex but great. Her vocals are fantastic. Yeah, I'm interested to see because she also announced the album with this, which is Revenge Seekers. Comes out this year at some point. Not sure when. I'm wondering if this whole project is kind of going to be that kind of sound, which would be fun. I don't know. I still really enjoy Census Designated, so I will miss that kind of slowcore shoegazy stuff. But I'm getting an hour and a half Ethel EP in like 3 weeks, so
That's true.
I'm good. But yeah, looking forward to that. I'm glad that we're at least getting like I have a lot to look forward to this year already, which is good.
It is
A lot of it
good.
this month too. So, but yeah, check that song out. Pretty great. I think we can talk about the Little Sims track next, which
Yeah.
is I think Hello Hi.
Yes.
I
Yep.
just love the cover art
It's
matched with that
great.
song title. It's great. It's a good combo. Um, this is her take on kind of UK drill, which is interesting. Um, she seems like she's in her like I'm just gonna try stuff and see what really works and feels good
I
because we had
like it.
Drop Seven, which was definitely more like club focused, and then this
Yeah.
one's more drill. She definitely feels more at home on this kind of drill type beat.
Yes.
I don't know. It's nothing crazy, but it's fun, and I think she still brings good energy to the track.
Oh yeah.
Um, I haven't heard a lot out of UK drill in a while. That was definitely a thing at the start of the decade where it kind of crossed the pond a bit. We got a lot of
Yeah.
exposure with like slow tie and stuff.
What about
And
Central
then that
C?
Central C as well. Thank you. Skepta. Trying to think of other ones. There's other ones. That kind of fell off though. But I don't know. I think it's a bit refreshing to hear it again. It's a little bit of a throwback. I'm like, ooh, I forgot what drill sounds like actual UK drill and not Chicago drill.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I'm interested to see what she's gonna do with this. I don't know if the whole album's gonna be drill. I'd like to see her just explore a whole bunch of different styles. Um, but I don't know. I think coming into being like a little Sims listener is like, oh, Simbi and No Thank You are like very well put together albums, and then she's just kind of been trying stuff, so it's hard. It's a little bit of a hard adjustment to make. I feel like with Kendrick, it was more natural because he's very sparse with what he chooses to release. But Drop Seven was definitely an experiment. Some of it worked, a lot of it didn't.
I don't think. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Although the Satellite Business 2.0 she did with Sampha last year was incredible.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I will always be a ride or die for Little Sims
Oh yeah. She's
because,
great.
yeah, the 1-2 punch of those two albums is just fantastic. Um, so, yeah, that came out. I think that was it for singles that I indulged in. Um, I think I have one more. I think this is a record. I don't really know what this technically is,
Oh.
which is always a good start. Elucid. I was just had him in my top 10, and he's like, no, it's December 29th. I'm going to release another album.
Oh.
Um, so this is Interference Pattern. I wasn't sure what this was when he posted about it because he didn't provide any descriptions or anything. I believe it's only on Bandcamp, at least right now. I'm not too sure if this is the final form of it. I think it probably is, but there's some things where it's like, ooh, I wonder if this is gonna like come to streaming services later or not. This is a 41-minute song as an album. Um, we got Peggy on production and Elucid on production, and it is definitely out there. I will say I'm loving like his artistic just like progression in the past only like 2 years. I would say since Diabetic Test Strips, he's been on another plane of existence for most people, and I'm really enjoying that because I think his weirdness is coming out in like the best way. Is just making him so much better. This is kind of a he almost did like a 2024 Wrapped on us, which was really strange. It's a sound collage in the beginning with like these weird snippets and things. Goes into some noise. We have some nice jazz going. And it kind of transitions into a lot of different places. You have this really cool Peggy beat that comes in. But there's also a lot of like, I don't want to say recycled, but like thrown in bits and pieces of all the stuff he's done recently. Um, so there's stuff from his latest album put on different kind of production styles. I think a song from the Shabaki EP that he's on was literally put on here in a different context. So all these different things are kind of just like blending together into this really cool like sound collage experiment song that like there are breaks where it's like okay I could see a track being here and here and here. I don't know if that's going to be broken up at all. But we have like doves on the back end, which I can't believe that came out last year. That seemed like it was so long ago. We have doves on there. We have a couple of verses from his album. Um, it's a really weird but very cool sound experiment. I think it's really great. It harnesses the energy of spiritual jazz while being elucid still, where it is still technically hip hop, but he's just a conductor of all these really strange and weird sounds. And I don't think there's many artists that can kind of like navigate that vocally like he can. So it's a really cool project thing. I do hope this isn't like a little just like here you go at the end of the year because I do think it is really fantastic and I'd love to like buy a record of it or like have it be more fleshed out and put onto like anything with a track list or anything
Hmm.
because it is seamless but there are points where it's like this could be a song on its own. But yeah, it's really cool. It reminds me the most of like probably like that beggar from Swans where it's like a whole bunch of bits and pieces from older music formed into this new thing. But I don't know. He's moving on a lane of his own completely now, and I think that's great. I feel like he's been in the shadow of Billy Woods in Arm and Hammer without people really realizing like how much creatively he attributes to the whole vibe and sound of the records they make. Um, and I think on his solo work, he was kind of pigeonholed too much into traditional, like hip hop sounding, even traditional for like the underground New York scene. He needs to be completely unique with himself, which is what he did on the last record, and I think this one even more so. I need that weird psychedelic craziness that he brings to really, really like get his vision, and he's done that twice last year. So um, I'm counting this towards this year because it came out December 29th. It's great, so it's the top of the list so far because it's the only one that's come out, but it's a good one, so it might stay for a little bit.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have for this week. Um, yeah, we'll see what starts coming out. I know the end of this month is going to be packed. I think the thing that's closest right now, I think, is Balloonerism by Mac Miller. That comes out January 17th.
Hmm.
So very excited for that. That's one of those that I have not listened to, and I think it still kind of floats around YouTube, but I haven't really dug into this one as a I don't want to even call it a leak. I guess just like unreleased in some format. There's a lot of them out there. So very excited for this. I'm not really worried. The team over there has tackled everything really, really, really well. So um, I think it'll be great. But then we got FK Twigs on the 24th. Oh, the Ethel Kane EP comes out on the 8th.
Oh,
That's great. Okay. So that's next Wednesday. So next podcast we will be talking about Ethel Kane.
wow. Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Get to sit through an hour and a half, 9 songs. I'm so excited. Um, then we got the weekend later this month as well.
That's
That also comes out
on
24th.
24th.
We
Okay.
have a Twigs and Weekend battle.
I wonder
The
who will
covers are
get the
kind of,
most streams.
they look like they're staring at each other on the covers too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just pulled them up next to each other. I'm like, ooh, staring contest.
It's probably planned.
I don't know. The Weekend looks more locked in. I mean, he might be winning that one. Um, I think that's those are the big ones for this month. I feel like there's always more, but I think those are the big guys. So we'll probably be doing the Weekend on the channel.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully that turns out good. I don't want to have another SZA situation. We can't be
I
disappointed by two big artists like right away.
I hope
It's
not.
not a good start.
I like that one song from the weekend, the Dancing in the Flames.
Yes, that one's good. I like the acoustic version.
I like the acoustic version too. I
Although I
hope.
do hope for the album that he does the kind of Don FM thing where he extends it or does something a little bit like different
Oh,
on it.
I hope so too. Yeah, that was definitely welcome.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. I don't know what to think about that. I'm just gonna wait until it comes out and then we'll see. I have no
Real.
expectations.
Me
I
neither.
I listened to Access All Areas by Flow.
Whoa. Oh yeah,
Flow.
that was on our potential first reaction list last year.
Yeah, I listened to it because it's 2025 and I was
Yes.
like, yeah, you know what? I'll just give it a listen, see if it's worth bringing to the table. And it's pretty good.
Okay.
I like it. It as a debut album from I don't know if they're like relative unknowns. I think they had like a couple singles blow up, but uh, I don't know. I feel like this is like there's some potential here. They're definitely borrowing from like and they even say so at the very beginning, where it's like we're inspired by Destiny's Child and I think
You can tell
this
by the cover.
yeah, it's some other R&B trio. I don't TLC. I don't think they even dropped TLC. I remember Destiny's Child. Um, and it's very inspired by that era of R&B,
Mhm.
which we are a fan of.
Real.
So I think I'll probably add it to the list or the wheel. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a really great R&B album. So check that out. I think that's pretty much it for new stuff. Oh, I listened to Alligator Bites Never Heal by Dochi.
Ah, yes.
It's a great project. I like the rap stuff way more than I like the R&B stuff.
Hmm.
um, because Doechii has a great mic presence when she's rapping, but for some reason in the R&B sections, I'm like, I can barely hear her. Like she's like kind of buried. I'm like, I don't know if like that's intentional. I don't know. I hope that if we're getting an album from her this year, which we're supposed to, I
Hmm.
really hope it's mostly rap focused because I think that's what she's really, really good at. I love my favorite song is Catfish.
Okay.
That's the one where she does the doofla. And I just think that's fun.
Yeah, I need to give that like a thorough listening. I've listened to it like um on the side, and it's pretty
Oh,
great.
it
But
is
it's like
great.
she like kind of blew up out of nowhere. Like not out of nowhere, but it's like all of a sudden she was like the favorite of all the publications and
Yeah,
all these things. Um, but when the actual mixtape came out, people were like, "Yeah, this is cool," but it wasn't like reaching outside of that. So it's cool to see it like blow up and her kind of being like, I don't want to say like the next big thing, but I think she is going to be a major presence in the next couple of years.
probably.
Um,
I saw.
it's interesting seeing someone come up like that was a big fan of Odd Future and stuff because we don't have a
Mm,
lot of artists like that right now. So it's going to be interesting.
yeah, that's true. Cause like that group was like the hot young thing.
Yeah,
Like I don't know, 10 years ago,
15 almost. Yeah,
15.
crazy.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like this generation that's just starting now, who's inspired by that, as
Hmm.
opposed to like Kendrick and stuff, who was influenced by like Dre and Snoop and Lil Wayne and stuff like that. It's just gonna be interesting and different, and I like what Dochi's doing a lot.
He seems like a natural progression to Kendrick and Tyler and stuff. So I think people in that lane are going to be super excited with what she's putting out.
Yes, I can definitely see that. And I didn't know that she was a part of TDE, but she does the
Yes.
like get top on the phone thing from Untitled Unmastered on one of the songs. And
Hmm.
it's kind of like the chorus of that song. And I'm like, is she just can you just do that? Can
Oh yeah,
just I
Kendrick,
guess.
Kendrick gave her the cosign.
Oh,
So
he did? Okay.
yeah,
Okay. It kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, is that a thing? Like, do other people say get top on the phone? Because I know it's on that one
it's
Untitled song.
a thing
But
now.
I guess
We'll
so.
just hope that TDE handles her situation a lot more than SZA,
I hope so.
which they sound like they are currently. Like she got the tiny desk. She's got a whole bunch of publicity and kind of momentum going into this year. So
I'll take
no
it.
funny business, TDE. You got this.
I don't trust them.
I don't either, but
But yeah, I think that's it. I listened to Ryan Beatty's album and it's soulful white boy music and it's pretty good.
that's your lane.
Bab Jab said you should listen to Dreaming of David, and I listened to it and I liked it less than the soulful white boy
Okay.
music. The one that he recommended, it felt more like Saturation or like that era of
Mm-hmm.
Brockhampton,
Yeah.
which is weird because it came
180.
out in 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I like Calico. It's pretty good. So check that out. It's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. Like when I'm listening to it outside, I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm like one of these people. But um whatever, it's good. So can't be that ashamed. I
Never
also
be ashamed.
my
Actually, people should be ashamed more. I take that back.
yeah.
Yeah, just in general.
I I will say I have this playlist that I've been doing as I've been delivering the mail, and I added "Careless Whisper" to it.
Ooh.
Um, man, that song goes hard, but I'm embarrassed every time it comes on. I I do love that song, but man, I'm like, I hope that nobody's outside right now, but whatever. Who doesn't
And
like
then I'll be
George Michael?
blasting Carly Rae Jepsen at the spotlight or the stoplight. You
Oh,
gotta just do it.
you gotta do it. I don't care that much,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have. Do you have anything else, player?
I don't think so. We're
Okay.
watching Severance right now. So
Oh, what are you thinking of Severance?
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've had a show just hook me.
Hmm. Yeah, the second season's coming out soon, right?
It is. Yeah, we got free Apple TV for 3 months when we upgraded our cellular devices.
Oh, there you go. You should watch
The one perk of
Shrinking.
having an iPhone. Drinking. Watch Ted Lasso.
Shrinking is good, has Harrison Ford in it. And the
Oh,
Muppet Man. Jason Segel? Is that
that
it?
sounds right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good show. It's cute.
Neat. But yeah, we'll talk about that when we're done with it.
Okay. I haven't seen it. I'm watching Soul.
That's acceptable.
I just got to the Chicanery episode.
Mm,
What a good episode of TV.
a fantastic episode.
Oh, that's the crawl space moment, I think.
Yeah, I think we're close to the Gus episode now.
Oh, are you watching it too?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Gus
We've been
episode.
watching it. The season 5 Gus episode where the things happen. I think that's season 5.
Am I? Maybe you'll just have to tell me once we're done recording because I don't remember the Gus episode.
Yeah, I just can't tell you because there's a house with people who haven't seen it yet.
Of course, I don't want to spoil anything.
But yeah, then we're doing a boy time feature this month.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't seen the movie we're doing the feature for in maybe 7 years. I think I saw it.
Ever, believe it or not.
Well, I would hope not. Yeah, I think I saw it before I went to film school. So it's been a hot minute.
Okay.
I'm excited,
Me too.
but we won't say what it is. But just know it'll be coming out in a couple weeks, probably. So look forward to that. It's been a minute since we did a feature. So it'll be fun and cool. But that's it. Check out our list week episode. It came out on the main channel. I brought a weird, unique, chaotic energy to that video. And
You did.
luckily, nobody has commented on it yet. I was kind of worried that people were
That
going to
one
be
guy
like,
that said that Canada's New York and not British. Which I think you did correct yourself.
I did correct myself. But yeah, I went on the whole rant about how, like, they're British, so what they say doesn't matter. And then it turns out they're not British at all.
Okay.
I said all that without even, like, looking. I just, like, they sound like music
Yeah,
that British would make.
You were just flowing that video.
I don't
Just
know
like
what was
whatever
going
came to your
on.
mind, just bam, bam, bam. I was editing and I'm like I was seeing like the 3 and 4 minute sections that me and Babjab had, and then I was like, oh, you got like an 8.5 minute section for an album that's like number 9. And then I like tuned in to see what was happening. Like, you weren't even talking about the music. You were just going.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there.
But this is the most traction we've had at a year-end video
I'll
so
take it.
far. So
I'll take it. Yeah, I wasn't on anything. I think I got off of work. No, we did that on like a Sunday.
that'll do it. It was a Sunday at night, which was
Yeah, and I had the day off, so I wasn't even like tired. I don't know what was going on, but it was a different vibe to that one.
Sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes you gotta just bring energy. It just happens to be during the video that takes a lot of preparation.
Takes a lot of preparation, a lot of editing.
Yeah.
And I just drew everything out.
There was a mix of energies that made it entertaining.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I was like kind of skimming through it, and I was like, oh, okay, these are like real conversations or real reviews of stuff, and then like I'm like all over the place, like completely scatterbrained. Say one thing about some other thing and like bring it back and like actually like this song. The song is good and it's nice and fun.
Podcast mode on the main channel.
Yeah, that's true. I don't usually do that. I don't really have a lot to say about music. I'm rather dumb, but
but I'm gonna continue.
I have a lot to say.
I got a lot to say. I think it turned out well.
I think so too.
That's what the people come here for.
Absolutely.
There's so many year-end lists. You can only say so many things about so many albums
Yeah,
before it just starts to blend all together.
absolutely.
You got to do something a little bit funky with it.
And we are funky. We're
Yeah,
soulful white boys.
exactly.
I don't really know what that term means. I've just been using it because it sounds funny.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Like, there's a disdain when I hear the term because it's like
Really?
you.
It's a negative thing?
It's for me. It's just like you.
Oh.
You know,
What's
like a
wrong?
Father John Misty type of person. I'm just like
Oh,
you.
that's soulful white boy music?
No, but like that's another type of white boy.
Oh. That's like, I don't even know what kind of white boy that is. Nihilistic white boy? Is that a
Yeah,
genre of person?
like nihilistic Reddit white boy.
Hmm. See, I don't really get Reddit vibes from Father John Misty.
I do.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
There's just a certain tone. It's hard to describe.
I don't picture Father John Misty as going online at all.
There's just a wave of there's like a vibe of like holier than thou, like
I guess. I
weird. I
I
know everything Reddit
yeah, I can see that.
cynicalism. I don't know.
You're more like he's someone who would like post on Reddit and like the things that he
Yeah,
says is similar to what
he would
someone would
post on
post on
Reddit on
Reddit.
like the top popular pages and make like a snarky comment. That's like it'll get a lot of upvotes because it's like haha funny, but it's
Yeah.
like there's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Father John Misty really leaves his house. I kind of picture him
No,
as like a reclusive hermit who hates society, who doesn't like go outside because he hates everybody.
I could see that too. I think both are true.
Probably. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what a soulful white boy is, or if I am one. I don't
Hmm.
know. I would love to find out. I I don't
Post in
really
the comments.
I don't really
What
believe
you think
in
of
souls, really, so
I don't have one.
I don't think I do. Although I do subscribe to I always call myself an old soul. I'm always
Hmm.
describing myself that way, and everybody really likes it when I do, because I'm like, I
Which you
really
did with the beginning of the channel, so
I
it's true.
did.
Yeah, when we were doing music.
Oh, did I say I'm an
First
old
at
soul?
first. Um, you didn't say that
Oh,
specifically, but you're yeah,
yeah, all the stuff I was picking was old.
yes.
Yeah, no, I just that's true. I was just making a joke because I kind of am, but I'm not racist enough to like, whenever I hear someone they're like I'm more of an old soul, I have to be like, well, what kind of prejudices you got?
Yeah. Well,
What
you
is
don't do the thing where it's like this was better, like this thing from 30 years ago was better because it just
no,
is.
no, no, no. I like stuff from the 60s and
Me too.
70s, but I wouldn't say that like it's just different. It's a
Hmm.
different thing. I don't want
There's no
to.
concept of better. It's just different.
Yeah, you can't compare Neil Young to Sufjan Stevens. Even though
Yeah.
it's similar genres, it's completely different eras and
Completely
different
different time
contexts.
period. Yeah.
So I can't say that
They both
Sufjan
make
is
pretty
better than
incredible.
Neil Young. I
Yeah.
can't say the opposite because they're just different artists.
Except Sufjan's cover of a Neil Young song is better than the Neil Young song.
Abs
So
100%. I re-listened to Harvest and I'm like, "There's a World" is the worst song that Neil Young might. I hate that song. There's two songs on that album I hate, and that is one of them. The other one is "Every Man Needs a Maid," and I don't know if I really need to describe why I don't like that song.
mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Although that is my favorite. They put that reference in Adventure Time for an episode, which is just really funny.
They did?
Yeah,
What did they
it's like
say?
the secret password for like a device.
Oh,
It was during the whole like multiverse phase.
oh,
It
and
was really funny.
it just said a man needs a maid or
Yeah,
something.
that was the pass key.
That is so random.
It is.
Why? Why would that be the password? Who's
That
what,
show has infinite depth, I'm telling you.
is Pendleton like a secret Neil Young stan, like an offcut of
I
Harvest?
don't know.
That's
I
so
could see
weird.
it. I don't know. Every time I watch that show, there's something different that pops out.
That is weird. Have you heard Harvest?
I feel like I've heard parts of it, but I don't know if
Okay.
I've sat down and be like, I'm gonna listen to Neil Young today.
Okay.
I'm
It's
sure there
on
will
my
be a time
wheel.
where I'm like, yes, we will. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually we will. I've been listening to, I think, and I don't know if this is controversial. I know this podcast is long, but I think that Harvest Moon is better than Harvest.
Okay.
And I don't even care what anyone thinks. There's only one song I don't like on Harvest Moon, and that's Old King. And that's a country song about his dog that croaked. And it's like a hokey, it's a hokey country song. It's like a hoedown song. I'm like, I don't know if I need this from Neil Young. But then the closer, Natural Beauty, is 10 and a half minutes and it's beautiful. And there's nothing like that on Harvest. So, and Harvest Moon is the best song of all time.
Everybody knows that.
I don't know if that's true. It's really good though.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get there in time.
We'll get there. I know we'll do Harvest first because that's the classic. But then I think we'll do Harvest Moon after that, and I think
Just round it out.
I want to be vindicated because I want you to like that one more.
I mean, it's Neil Young. I'm gonna like it.
I don't know if
But
that's
yeah, we'll
necessarily
see.
true. I don't.
Everything influenced by Neil Young that I listen to, I enjoy.
Okay, it's very different. It's very
Oh,
different.
I'm sure it is. I like most things.
That's true. Well, I think you'll gravitate to the lyrics because that's kind of his
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like,
a man with a lot to say.
he has a lot to say. That's like my favorite thing about Harvest is Alabama, which is like this really loud, boisterous protest song about how Alabama was like dragging its feet to desegregate. And what I don't get is like these days when people ask him about Alabama, he's like, "Oh yeah, that song's too mean. I shouldn't have went that hard." I'm like, "Bro, you're protesting like segregation. You can go hard." That song is why he's called out in Sweet Home Alabama, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, because they're like Neil Young sang about her. He's not welcome anyway, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a whole verse that's a diss to Neil Young, and it's because of Alabama on Harvest.
We dissing each other back in the day.
Yeah, they had beef.
That's crazy.
Actually, I don't think they did, because Leonard Skinnerd, whatever the lead guy at Skinnerd, he was just like, "Nah, that song's funny." He was like, "Sweet Home Alabama is just a funny song. I don't really believe any of it."
That's fair. It kind of reads that way.
Yeah,
I'd be like too stupid if it was serious. I think.
yeah, I think it's kind of a parody,
Yeah.
and they were just kind of like taking like playful jabs at Neil Young. I don't think they actually cared. So, thank you, Skinnerd man, who died, and thank you, Neil Young, who is not passed yet, but will soon, probably. He's like 95 or whatever. I don't know how
Still
old he
kicking.
is. He is 79. And he's still making music. So, it's a fun guy. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.